Welcome to the Sent and Bent podcast. So much has happened in the last month, and today we are going to go over how Will got run over by a car.
A truck.
Oh, yes.
He got run over by a truck.
Ethan has a bunch of stuff to update us on. We have so much to talk about today. This is going to be a crazy podcast, but let's just get right to the main event. What the heck happened, Will? We've been posting on Instagram, but no one really knows.
Yeah, well, like you said, I got ran over by a truck. It was a Hell Yeah Brother truck, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like a Toyota Tacoma with like big wheels on it. So if you want to be taller than everyone, you get a Hell Yeah Brother truck.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was just cruising with my friend. He was cruising behind me, and there was a truck in front of me in the other lane.
On a street bike.
Yeah,
on a street bike.
The part where you're on a street bike.
Yeah, I was cruising. I wasn't walking, running, driving. I was driving a street bike. I daily a street bike usually. I'm planning on getting a bigger, better one pretty soon.
No one approves.
Yes.
Literally no one approves.
No.
But I was cruising on my street bike, and it was all normal. It wasn't like I wasn't going over the speed limit, doing anything illegal. There was a Toyota Tacoma right next to me, and he was a little bit in front of me. And I was just talking to my friend on my intercom, and we didn't know like the directions because we were in Spokane. So I was like listening to Siri. He was talking to me, and there was a lot going on.
Okay.
But anyway.
Will's
Nice!
microphone just took out his coffee mug.
That microphone
did
said
that
no coffee
happen?
for Will today.
There isn't coffee getting on the mic, is there?
No.
That shattered the mug. All right, we're going to take 5.
Take 5. So I was in the left lane, right lane. Hell Yeah Brother truck in the right lane. I'm in the left lane, and there's this little neighborhood.
On a 2-lane going the same direction type of street.
Yeah,
right?
so like 2 lanes, it's one way. So it's just a one way down to Spokane. There's a neighborhood on the left, and Hell Yeah Brother truck's in the right. I'm in the left lane, just a little bit behind him like this. Mm-hmm. And then out of nowhere, this man decides that he needs to go see Aunt Betty or something. And I'm like, and I didn't have any time to react. I'm just looking forward, and he turns in front of me, and I hit the front of his truck, which had like a big bumper on it, and smacked into it. Well, I smacked into his door, which probably scared the bejeebers out of him because he was like...
It was also dark. This all happened
Yeah,
at
it's
night.
dark.
Yeah.
And I just smacked into his door super hard. I left a Will imprint in his door because I flew off the bike. Like the bike's front wheel went into his truck because it wasn't very high. It was just like on big tires. So the front of my tire went into his truck, like under it, and I flew off, smacked his door, and then the front tire, like he like did a little drift, and somehow I got ran over by the front tire.
So you sent us all the video of it.
Yeah.
I watched it. It's a really terrible video from somebody's
From
door,
a ring doorbell.
I watched it a bunch of times because it's really hard to see what happens. What it looked like to me is that you hit his door and then flew over the hood of the truck. Like
I go under
You bounced off and rolled over the hood, and then he ran you over.
And then I go under. So I like bounced.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Like, I can't really explain what happened at the moment of impact because I blacked out because I hit his door really hard. It like cracked on my helmet a little bit, but I got ran over by a Hell Yeah Brother tire. I don't know what Hell Yeah Brother tire I got ran over by, but in the video you could kind of see it like bump over me, and I woke up just in time to hear 4 of my ribs just cracking, like, and that tire like rolling over me. And I was like, ah.
So you woke up before you
I
got
woke
run
up
over?
like on the ground. Like time moves a little different. Like when I hit the deer, like it feels like you're flying. It's an amazing experience.
It's because you are flying, Will. You're flying through the air off of your bike.
And like when I woke up in the Jeep jumping over a bridge, feels like you're flying. It's like it slows down, time slows down in a near-death experience, and it's really fun for that second until the pain hits. But you have a lot of adrenaline, and adrenaline's probably my favorite thing more than coffee or anything. So
wow, what a surprise.
Everyone is shocked by this.
Yeah, I know. It's very shocking. But that experience was fun until I hit the ground and I like smacked the ground and I was like, oh, I'm okay. And then I just hear, and then he just drives over me and I hear my ribs crack and I was like, oh no. And you're in a helmet, so you can't and you're under a truck. And my helmet got caught by something in the back of the truck. I don't know, a diff or something, or
skid plate.
Something. It got stuck by something. And this kid, he just kept driving a little ways. So I got dragged by my head.
Why didn't he just hit the brakes?
He hit the brakes as
he hit the brakes,
as he could,
but he was still moving. So
so as he's slowing down, you're being dragged by his rear
He didn't just hit the gas.
Because he went from 50 miles an hour, didn't hit the brakes. And I'm at the point, he made an illegal turn, but to his benefit, he did have a blinker on. But I was in a space where I could not see the blinker on his car. So he's we're going 50 miles an hour like this. And then he, no brakes or anything, does a Tokyo drift into this little tiny road.
No.
It's not a very big road that he does this drift into. And he's like, yay. And I go under the truck, and then he goes from 50 miles an hour to 0, which takes a little bit with those big tires and that little Tacoma. So he I get under the truck, and he makes the turn, hits the brakes, and I just get dragged in that whole process, which felt like a really long time by my helmet. So I was worried that I broke my spine or something. But I was in the premium shirt. I don't have one anymore. I'm really bummed.
Oh no, they had to cut it off.
Because that was my favorite shirt. It came off.
If only you had some leathers that you could wear that are made for GP racing.
I know that Ethan let me borrow. Yeah, I have
I gave those to you.
I have a whole suit that Ethan gave me to protect me, and it's a really nice suit, and I wear it a lot. But like I said, it was it always happens when you're not expecting it. And my friend and I just went up to this viewpoint. We're having a chat, went for a walk. It was really awesome. And then it got dark and we were going to do some urban exploring. We were going to crawl onto these buildings that we know in Spokane. So we were like, okay. I was like, I have to go feed my cat at my house. So we were going to go feed my cat, go back to Spokane with some hoodies and stuff and climb some buildings. But we didn't know where we were, and I had GPS. He was talking to me. We got in that accident, and I was just in normal clothes. So
what happened after then? You come to underneath the truck.
Yeah, I came to underneath the truck. I had half a premium shirt on, 0 jeans. I got road rash in all the worst kind of places.
You were wearing half your skin.
I was wearing not a lot of skin, and there was skin everywhere. It was really gross. Ooh. And because my head got caught under the truck and it broke the visor off, it popped off, there was some gashes on my face. I have a couple scars from it, but face wounds bleed a lot. They bleed insane amounts, even if it's not bad. And so I just couldn't see anything because there was a whole bunch of red liquid in my eyes, and I was like,
you can say blood.
I didn't know. I don't know if that's age appropriate for you guys watching, but there was a lot of blood in my eyes and a lot of blood everywhere. And so when I came to, I had a lot of adrenaline, but I couldn't move because I was stuck under the truck, and I thought I got cut in half because that tire went over me and I heard all those terrible noises and I had blood in my face and
you couldn't feel your legs, right?
I couldn't feel my legs. Yeah, I couldn't feel my legs for a month and a half after that.
Nerve damage.
In
your hip,
it
right? Got
so close to all the nerves right there that it just I don't know, bruised them. I don't know what the doctors say with that term, but it was really, really nasty. And I just came to, and I was telling my friend, I was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it out of this truck. And then I hear the kid, he's like, all right, I'm going to back off of him. And I'm in a position, I'm under the truck, stuck by my helmet, because my helmet has a little fin and it's jammed up in the truck. And he's like, all right, I'm going to back off. And I was like, no. So I told my friend, immediately, I was like, call Katie, tell her I'm probably not going to make it. I'm cut in half and I'm under a truck.
Yeah.
And so I'm just
really
laying there,
terrifying.
just like thinking I'm gone. And then paramedics came and they pulled me out of under the truck. And I'm thankful that I looked pretty damaged because the police showed up and they're like, why does this man not have a license plate on? Like all this stuff. And I'm pretty sure they knew who I was because shenanigans had happened.
Every police officer within like 120 miles of here knows you by name. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was pretty traumatizing. I think it might have been a little traumatizing for my friend too, because he got like hit by pieces of my motorcycle because the front of my motorcycle like flew off and like went back and hit him because he was right behind me.
And he watched you get run over by a truck.
Yeah. So I'm glad he was an experienced rider because I think that could be a double whammy, honestly, because he was right behind me. And if that had been someone who didn't know brake control or
Like
something.
in Star Wars when Slave One is going through space and it releases all of its like trash and destroys the ships behind them.
Literally all my fairings and stuff. I'm so bummed. I just had those fairings like custom made. I was so stoked.
Bike, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of a blessing because I blew out the forks doing a wheelie on the highway. I came down a little too hard. And
Right before that, right?
Yeah, right before that. Like my forks were like
Well,
just bouncing.
You told me that you had been contemplating a wheelie right when you hit the truck. Like,
yeah,
I
was
sitting
thinking.
there. He's like, luckily I wasn't doing a wheelie, but I had just thought, wow, this is a nice straightaway. I should do a wheelie. And
Yeah, it would have
didn't.
sucked.
You're such a menace. Will.
It would have sucked to do a wheelie right there.
Also,
So what happened though? Like, so the paramedics came. You went to the hospital. Like, what kind of damage?
4 broken ribs. That's it. And nerve damage, road rash. But road rash is way worse. Like, I'd rather break any bone in my body besides my neck than get road rash because you wake up.
Then you should wear your leathers, Mike.
It is unfortunate.
That would have solved all of those problems.
Yep. When I get the turbo Busa, there'll be leathers every
You
day.
already had a turbo boost.
I thought you said you were going to get an R1.
You had a
up your
turbo
mind.
Hayabusa. And you sold it.
A turbo Gixxer 1000.
Oh, right. Turbo Gixxer. That's right.
Yeah. I don't know what bike I want. I just want like the fastest bike,
It's
I don't
such a bad idea, dude.
Because I've been thinking about a lot of things. I think about a lot of things nowadays. I'm a bit more of a sophisticated gentleman now.
We can tell with the flannel.
And my girlfriend dresses me. That's why I look like this. I'm normally in sweatpants and a dirty t-shirt.
Yeah, that's what you were wearing yesterday, and your girlfriend was here.
Yeah, I know. She didn't. She was asleep when I made my
That's
dressing
even a V-neck
decision.
you're wearing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I never seen you wear
Yeah.
a V-neck.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. But anyway,
And you're shaven.
I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I was thinking, probably would have been worse on a Vespa.
No, it wouldn't. Here's a fact that Will likes to omit from this story, and none of us would know this if we didn't have video evidence. And not to say that it wasn't the truck's fault. The truck definitely did an illegal turn in a bad way. The truck also had no way to know Will was there because...
Except my bike's louder than a fighter jet.
But you were like 120 feet behind him, and then instantly you were next to him because you were accelerating to pass him when he turned. Doesn't make it entirely not his fault, but
Yeah.
that's a fact. So he was cruising along, and you can hear it in the video. Yeah. Clunk. Full acceleration into the truck.
Yeah.
No brakes. There's no brakes. Just clunk.
The Vespa
truck.
couldn't even get up and go that fast in the
He would have
first
turned.
place.
Well, hit the microphone. He would have turned, and you would have been not even anywhere near.
Or
him
I
if you
might
were
have
that
hit
fast.
the rear of his handcrafted bed, which would have probably severed my head off. But anyway, I've just been thinking about it, and I
need a reliable car. You should just get a regular Tacoma.
No, because that's what hit me, man.
I know, but that's how you get past that. You
And
buy
they're
a
really
Tacoma.
slow.
But you can
are
tow
really
things
slow.
when you buy bikes from Seattle.
Kind of.
You can
tow a bike.
If you get hit with a seatbelt and airbags, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, but I'd rather live a short life and a speedy life than a long life and a slow life. So, I mean,
You say that
honestly.
now,
Well, winter's
but when you're
coming.
in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and this is pretty much off topic, but I've started looking into flight. I've been talking to a lot of people about this. I'm actually going to be getting into air things like...
Okay, you're going to get a pilot's license?
No.
He was like, what if he was talking to me the other day. He's like, what if I just buy a plane and just fly it? I was like, you'll be in jail. For
Yeah,
a very long
so
time.
Ethan said
by an F-16.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Ethan
I
said you'll be in jail. So I was like, okay, so the next
Well, you're on
logical
probation now.
Yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
Good job.
It's been like exactly almost a year since
So
we
you're not
made
on
the
probation in Idaho or Washington at the moment.
Yeah, I know, which is
Not yet.
great. Which is really good because I mean, it's like a get out of jail free card if you're not in probation. But if you're on probation, it's a straight to jail situation.
Yeah.
So
what are you gonna fly?
well, okay, so here's the thing. Ethan told me that. And so I said, okay, that's pretty logical. The next thing I did is I typed into Google how to fly without a license.
Okay. Well, you
And
see the
a
small
couple,
plane, right?
yeah, a
Ultralight,
couple
like the one we got
options
rid of.
came up. There's something called Mosquito, which is a handmade helicopter that you get in a box and you can build it,
Sketchy.
which I'm not going to do because I don't really like helicopters. So not really my style.
You're kind of slow.
slow.
Yeah. There's really small, like ultralight airplanes. You can get like little jets and things that you build in boxes. And then there's paragliding and paramotoring. You can just get those on the internet for super cheap, like very, very cheap. And you don't need a license. You can just go somewhere and jump off something and fly around. Two things. No one can catch you up there. So what are they going to say? Get down from there. And you're like, well, I can fly anywhere.
It's true. There are really no regulations.
So I
about
could pretty much like
paragliding.
launch from a field,
Yeah.
read the air, as Steven says, fly up into the thermals, and then fly wherever I want to go. From anywhere I want to go.
Yeah.
Go get McDonald's, get some chicken nuggets, fly or
I don't.
climb up a hill, fly back to my apartment.
Have you seen the video of the guy who literally lands on the top deck of a pontoon boat? Mm-hmm. That's
Very
so
sick.
Gangster.
It's
You
very
could do
cool.
that.
So I'm thinking about getting into that kind of stuff.
You
'cause-
should just at least go learn from somebody who knows how to do it.
Yeah,
I have
so-
a friend. We met Max Powell.
Yeah, Max
he
does it.
paramotors. He even said he would teach you. Just do that.
Yeah,
Because
so-
if you just get a paramotor, you're going to end up stuck in a tree somewhere.
So is this instead of getting a new motorcycle or a race car?
No. This is like
this is in addition
this
to
is
that.
an
You just
addition.
want to do all the dangerous things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk. I've been talking to some people online, some forums. They've been explaining to me how to get into flying, and I mean, it's something you can pack on a motorcycle or in a car and just go somewhere and have fun. So maybe that will be more of the thing I do because I've made the decision that I'm not gonna daily a motorcycle next year.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
gonna
we
own
are.
one.
In Idaho, that it gets very cold and very snowy. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to purchase before it starts snowing to get to work? That's what I
Well,
want to know. I know you're not going to
currently-
fly to work.
Currently, my WRX is getting built, recrafted.
one
together.
of your 6 Subarus.
Yeah, one of the 6 of them.
That'll last
is
3
being-
minutes.
No.
One of them is currently in my driveway disassembled with the
That
engine
lasted 3 minutes.
out. Pretty much, yep.
This one is very reliable.
No, it's not. It's a WRX. There are no reliable WRXs.
This one has only been owned by like 6 people.
only.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's pretty new. 2002.
Heavily modified.
Slightly modified. And I'm getting a brand new engine put in it. The only thing else that could fail is the transmission.
Yeah, or the engine again.
Yeah, but I'm going to drive it really slow to work every day. I'm going to let it warm up 10 minutes. Put oil in it, put water in it.
Okay.
Well,
Just drive it.
I had a turboed Subaru pre WRX that was known as the most reliable turbo engine Subaru has ever built by far, and it's a closed deck block, so it does not typically have head gasket problems. I rebuilt the whole thing, new internals, everything, brand new decked block, decked heads. Head gaskets lasted like 30,000 miles, and the and then they went out.
30,000 miles is enough to get me to motorcycle
Yes,
season again.
but that was the most reliable, least prone to head gasket failure turbo engine that Subaru has ever made, and it still only lasted that. And that was also me driving. And back then, I drove a little more like you drive, but you still probably drive. Well, you also drive a lot more miles than I do. But
Well, I've also been thinking this morning I woke up with an epiphany. I borrowed my girlfriend's car to get here because my head gaskets are blown in Ethan's driveway right now.
Yes.
And I'm handcrafting them back together. But I woke up and I was like, I just need a Honda Civic. Like, one of the cool ones that are like, because I was watching Instagram and I saw one and was like all cambered out and had a turbo
new
and it
one
was
or
like
the older
Sad
ones?
Boys for Life. No,
Yeah, the
the
Sad Boy
90s ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
Put
Honda's,
some blast pipes out the back, like big ones with like hearts on them or something.
Yeah.
Hondas are more reliable for sure, Honda Civics, but you said you were also going to turbo it
Yeah.
and do all this stuff. No longer
With the
reliable.
wheels.
And more importantly, if it's cambered and slammed, you won't even make it halfway to my house in the winter. Let alone the hill. Like, you won't even make it to the hill.
Also, where are you going to keep all this stuff? You don't have a garage.
I just keep it outside of my apartment. They don't really mind.
Paramotor and your R1 and your turbo
No,
boost.
I'm just getting a paraglider. I don't want the motor part. I just want the glider.
Oh,
So I can do extreme sport things like jump off cliffs and like fly around, you know?
A paraglider, you don't really jump. That's base jumping. You just
you
kind of
run.
like take off from
Yeah.
the hillside.
Yeah.
It's not a cliff.
I want to learn how to read the wind.
yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I want to learn how to read the wind.
I think what Will's trying to say is, I want to die before I'm 30.
I think what he's saying is I want all of the adrenaline now.
Yeah, because when I'm old, I obviously know my bones are going to be not good.
Yeah, they're already
They're going to be gone. You won't have any bones.
Yeah, 3 days after your accident, I went to hang out with you and we went to the mall all day because you couldn't do anything. And you were like, "Oh yeah, I like tried to pull an engine out of a Subaru yesterday."
Yeah, and I pulled all my ribs
wounds
apart.
got infected because the next day you're all cut up, all kinds of everywhere, and you jumped in the lake with
Yeah, I
4
had a boat
broken
day.
ribs. You couldn't feel below your waist, and you were like, "Oh yes, this is a good time to go."
It was so nasty, dude. I was like on some painkillers, feeling really good. Went on a boat day, kind of broken, and everyone's
Kind
like,
of broken,
everyone's
dude.
like, you should just go swimming. And I was like, that's a good idea.
Who are these people that
Yeah.
you hang out with?
My
that think
friends.
Your friends have bad ideas.
You gotta hang out with us for. It's like so sketchy to think that when you are being the most responsible and safest in life is when you're with us. Because we do
That's concerning.
so much dangerous stuff. The internet is concerned for our well-being, and we get comments about people wishing they could take life insurance policies out on us every single video, every single week.
Chris, who's helping build the shop, is talking about taking out a life insurance policy on Will.
And he sees you doing what we do here. And then when you're on your
Yeah.
own devices, you're even more dangerous somehow.
This is the safe part of Will's life.
And there's so much dangerous stuff here. It's 100-mile-an-hour power wheels with no roll cages.
Yeah, this is true.
Axes and chainsaws and like who knows what goes on here.
I know. I know, but for some
internet,
reason,
everyone knows
I'm
what
just
goes on.
able to like bounce back from these bad experiences every time.
That's the problem.
that is the
That's
problem.
why you,
Yeah. So
You need
keep
one
getting
that-
really lucky.
I think it would take like a really extreme situation.
We all thought that this last one was that. And then
Yeah.
while you were still in the hospital, you're like, I'm going to get an R1.
Yeah, the insurance, you talked about the insurance money being more than you paid for the bike.
Way more, dude. way more.
And we were like, oh no.
Yeah,
gonna
I've
keep
always
going.
wanted like a really crispy, nice, brand new R1 that's like really fast.
They are like
They're
the
all
coolest
really fast, Will.
looking thing.
They look pretty cool. They sound cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to have
so-
to disagree that they're the coolest. I think a Super Duke looks way cooler than a.
Yeah, they're pretty cool too. But like out of like super sport bikes,
I mean,
they
it's
look,
like you could just take it on
angled.
the GP track and just
You can because
Yeah,
you can.
They do.
They do. Yeah,
That's
But-
really what they're for. Which
Yeah,
I think
for the track.
is what you should do. You should just
go to
get,
the track.
You already have your drag racing bike. Fix that. Then you have your track bike. And then you just actually go to the track in controlled environments with
Wearing
medical staff
safety
there.
gear.
They won't even let you on without your safety gear.
Yeah.
And then you can go as fast as you want, not get arrested,
Yeah.
not get too damaged.
I think
Yeah.
that's too safe for Will. I think it's not
Well,
dangerous.
that's the thing that I'm saying is I learned that, like I got into so many experiences just like this year of like people like cut you off all the time
Oh,
or
and then there's
brake check you.
The time you
or-
got hit by a 2x4
Yeah, this year I got hit by a 2x4
on the bike.
on the bike.
Yeah, we should get into that because I didn't
Yeah.
believe you 100% when you first started telling this story.
Yeah.
But then when we get to the part of the story that I witnessed, I would like to interject. But you should start from the beginning.
where's the beginning on this story?
It's 2x4 guy.
2x4? Well, I was on my way to work, and there's this like up and down section after this theme park, or before the theme park.
No, it's after if you're coming this
Well,
way.
yeah, it doesn't really matter. But I was on my way to work, and I had nice fairings, like OEM fairings on my bike at this time. And I was driving, and essentially this man had a craft project going on, and a 2x4 ended up flying towards me, and
how fast were you going at this time, Will?
pretty fast.
I believe it was north of like 130.
Yeah, like
140.
maybe 100 and 130, maybe 120, 30, about that speed. But I had my leathers on. And what happened is I have frame sliders on my bike, so it like hit my motorcycle, hit the frame slider. I was wearing my leathers, and it popped up and like hit my arm, but didn't go down. Just wrecked all the fairings on my bike on that one side.
This is a different story than I was thinking. But then after that, since you took your bike to work every day and it's so loud, one of the neighbors was not having it anymore.
Yeah, Javelin boy.
And you had to call a detective.
Yeah,
Tell
I did.
that story. That's the one I'm digging for.
Okay. Okay. So this happened on multiple.
Javelin boy? Is that what you
Yeah, his
call
name's
him?
Javelin boy. And he's built a little like post, like a little observation post for me this last summer. He like mowed out a little section in the trees. You can't see this man at all. He wears dark clothing. He's smaller than me. He hides in the grass. And I was going fast at that time because I didn't have the tracker on me. Grindhard has a tracker on me, so I can't go fast to work anymore.
But
But
if he goes over the speed limit on the way to work or from work, he can't work.
a certain speed, over 10 miles an hour over, right?
Or 15 or whatever
15.
it is. A meaningful amount. over
It's
the
a
speed limit.
meaningful, like an in trouble amount, like not just like a very small ticket, like an in trouble amount of speed over the speed limit. I'd take this road to work every day, and I would take it pretty fast, like 60, 70 miles an hour. It's twisties, really
The
fun.
35.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, what's
To be fair, I
35?
drive that at 55 in my truck.
Yeah.
The speed limit's really
Yeah.
slow. But
Yeah, it's
anyway.
really slow. It's an old road, but they paved it and it's nice, and you can whip around the corners. It's a really fun road to take to work. And this man would just get increasingly more mad at me because I would take this road every day. My bike's really loud. He could hear me coming. At first, it was just like a little bit of yelling and a little bit of like jumping into the road, and like I would like avoid him and keep on my path.
Yeah, what did he think
I
was
didn't
gonna
hear this part of the
happen?
story. You just told us he threw a rock at you. Like that
Well,
was the
that
first
was
we
the
heard.
yes, but this man, I knew of this man, so I was always aware of this location, and he would just kind of like, doesn't really matter what speed I was going. I think he was more mad about how loud the motorcycle was, and he knows exactly what time I'm going to be coming around that corner. He knows where I'm going to be because he can track me from a mile away because of my bike's noise and how it bounces off the mountains. Ethan says he can hear me when I'm in like
I can hear you for
way
like 10 minutes.
down the road.
Coming down the road.
Way down.
10 minutes is a long time when you're traveling at high speeds.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think this man just had had enough of my shenanigans at that point, and I was coming around the corner, and I just see him like step out, aims a rock at me, just whoosh, throws it, and just barely misses me. And it was really bad. So yeah, honestly, it was my fault in that situation. And
It's
because
not
I was
worth
going
killing
fast.
You over. He should.
No, I mean, he's kind of a nutcase.
He's pretty crazy, but yeah, I was going fast, and he got angry enough to throw a rock at me. A pretty sizable one too. It was big enough that I could see it going like 60
would've
miles an
killed
hour.
you,
Yeah,
for
it would have
sure.
hurt me pretty bad. So I like went off the road a little bit, and I was like mad, and I came over to him. I was like, "Don't you ever do that ever again?"
Wait, what?
Yeah,
This happened.
that's when that whole situation happened. And
You didn't tell us that you pulled over and
Yeah.
And so then he calls the police station. They
just so
sent
that
him.
like not to get him in trouble, but just to like put something out there so that if I did get hit by a boulder and flew into a creek and died,
They know who did
and
it.
so they'd be like, "Oh, this man has a rock indentation in his helmet." Like, interesting. Yeah. So I just made it for the notes, and they're like, "Oh yes, this man does this quite frequently.
Yeah, the detective.
He knew this man.
They knew the problem. He throws rocks at multiple
Yeah.
people. And so Will's telling me all this. The barricade, he's wearing camo. He apparently does this to a bunch of other people. And I think Will's kind of like goofing off. Like, I'm sure there's a neighbor who's yelling at him. That's very easy to believe. But this whole situation, I'm like, what's really going on here? And then this summer, Will and I decided to ride 100 miles on one wheels in one day. So we were like, oh, well, if we drive to work from my house and back to work, that's the first 40 miles right there. And then we only need to do 60 miles after work.
It's very hard to do.
One-wheeling to work the same time that Will would normally be caressing through on his street bike.
Caressing.
And we go over the bridge right on this corner that he tells me that this man is lurching. And I'm like half believing him. And I see with my very own 2 eyes a man holding an axe handle behind a barricade wearing camouflage in his front yard. And I go like ghost white because I'm like, this man is trying to kill my friend. Like, it felt, the vibe was so bad. This man just lives in the middle of nowhere, and his goal in life is to actually kill Will. And I see the look in his eyes, and I'm like, oh no. And so we go by, and Will was like, I told you. And I was like, I just can't believe. And so I turn around because I'm like, I'm going to see what the heck is going on with this guy. So I turn around and I'm like, hey, you doing some yard work this morning? And he looks at his axe handle with nothing attached to it, sets it down to me and like, I guess you could say that. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the weirdest situation.
Yeah.
And so he's like, what are those things? And he's talking to us about one wheels. And you know how crazy people, like, they turn the conversation into whatever they want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking to them about one wheels, like, oh yeah, they're electric. You can go forwards or backwards, the motor's in the wheel. And he's like, oh yeah, the Who was crazy in like 76.
Yeah, he was like switching the conversation over and over
So
again.
he starts telling us about the good old days when you could just like do substances and go to like classic rock shows.
Back when
Just
motorcycles
rock all
weren't
the
a
time.
thing or something, I think.
Yeah, back before there were kids on street bikes racing around his front yard. So he's going off on like his glory days. And we're like, okay, like we're trying to leave because the man is so weird and uncomfortable to be around. And like, you just don't know if he's going to randomly like kill us and drag us into his yard. So we like eventually get out of there and all the way back because one wheels don't go too fast. We got like a solid like half an hour from there to your house. The whole time I was like, Will, you were 100% correct. If anything, you are dumbing down the story to try
Well, he
to get
was
us to
because he
believe it.
left out the part where he stopped and confronted the man.
Well, I was worried
And
that
left out the part where he'd been yelling at him for weeks. He's just like, this man threw a rock at me today. That was the whole story. That was it. As if it was an isolated event, and that was the whole story. That was it. That was.
Well, I knew there would be some judgment on my end. I had to craft the story a little bit so that I just sounded like an innocent motorcycle passing
We don't
by.
believe any of your stories anymore, Will.
It just was, I left out the part where this man had been confronting me in a slightly less aggressive way. I just didn't think he was really going to come to the rock
Well, you
stage.
told me about when he jumped in front of you.
Yeah.
But, like, really, what's going to happen if he succeeds in jumping in front of you?
I
He
don't
just
know.
gets
It was just the
plowed?
last straw when I like went, because he's on like a sharp corner. So when you're trying to dodge a rock and make a corner and looking at a man who's like, you don't want to hit, who's in the middle of the road, you're like, he's on like a corner that you don't see anything until you like kind of start wrapping around him at a speed of 60 miles an hour. You're not like prepared for that. So when he jumps out, has a rock and it's like, yay, it's like surprising. So like,
I just can't believe he doesn't have anything better to do. Like,
I don't
all the
know.
way home that day, I was just thinking, I'm so glad we decided to do the 100-mile challenge.
because you would have never known.
You just would have never known. Like, you could have got clotheslined by an axe handle and been either dead or in the hospital. And if he did kill you or almost killed you, he did seem like the kind of guy who might have just buried you in the backyard.
Probably.
And no one
They
would
would have
ever
just
known.
disassembled the motorcycle, sold the
Yeah.
parts somewhere.
I was
to somebody.
thinking
Imagine
about
that guy
all
somehow
night.
watches this podcast.
Yeah. Has he done anything since we talked to him on the one wheels? I mean, obviously
No,
we didn't tell him
because
that
then
that
you
was
implemented the speed law. And then I was going very slow, and I'd be even
you're going
more
slow, you're
cautious.
quieter.
I'd be even more cautious. I would like go into a higher gear when I was
You never
around
even
his house.
saw him, or
No, I never saw him again after that.
if he's throwing rocks at multiple people, I mean, maybe someone else complained and it was enough complaints to.
Maybe, but like the police officer that did end up talking to him was like, "Oh yeah, that man's got so many complaints, and I've had to show up there." He's like,
Didn't you say like 11 or 12?
Yeah, and
Like,
he like named him. Like I don't remember the name, but he was like, "Oh, old
name.
Joseph down the road, yeah, I know that man."
we live in such a rowdy place.
It was a pretty rowdy time, but
The rest of that day was really rowdy too.
Yeah.
Because we one-wheeled all the way back to my house. We charged the one wheels, went to the top of Schweitzer, which is our local ski resort. And they're currently in the process of completely redoing the parking lot and the beginner hill. We call it the bunny hill. And so Will and I are at the top of the ski resort and we're like, let's go down the ski hill, not the
on the
road.
dirt.
Yeah, the actual run. And so we think it's a great idea because normally at the bottom, there's a parking lot and then a road to get back to the top. And then we could just one wheel back to the car. That's what we were thinking. The terrain of the beginner hill, when there's no snow on it,
Is
beginner.
rugged, very rugged.
it's so rugged.
And
So
one
we're-
wheels have like flat, like slicks, like racing slicks on
It
them.
was such a bad idea.
So bad.
So we're cruising down. It takes like an hour, and on the skis, it probably takes like 4 minutes. And we're just going down, going down, going down. One wheels almost weigh like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
They're pretty heavy.
And they
If
also
you're getting
don't
in a
really
bad
recharge on
situation.
dirt because they're slipping so much. They don't have that same recharge.
Yeah. So we fall a bunch of times. We're covered in dirt and gravel, and we're all beat up and so tired. And we get to this giant fence with construction zone, the whole bottom. So there's no way we could get out of there except for climbing back up the bunny hill. So I grab my one wheel and start going uphill. And Will's like, no, we can't do it. We can't climb the mountain with the one wheels.
To be clear, it's really not a steep hill. On a one wheel, I'm sure the terrain is a little rough.
Very
but, like,
steep.
We're not talking about like a black diamond here. We're talking about
it's
the
a
one that they
blue.
put the toddlers on.
Yeah.
It's like barely
But
a
it's
hill.
the extended one. It's the,
Long.
yeah.
It's
long,
probably
long.
half a mile long or something.
And Will and I aren't what you would call like
Fit.
built different.
Yeah, we're not built different.
So Will's like, no, we're not doing that. We're going over the fence. And I was like, okay. I mean, it's like what? It was like a Friday night. Like no one was there. Like you could see all the construction stuff. Like, so we throw the one wheels over the fence. We climb the fence. And then the craziest alarm I've ever heard is like, jing, 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 jing. And Will just takes off. I was going to go back on the other side of the fence because I figured like, oh, like we can't get it all the way up the road without security getting us if the alarm and cameras just went off. It's like, yang, 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 yang. And Will's running. So I'm like, okay, like I got to stick with my boy. And I'm not built different enough to go back up the hill. So we're just running with our one wheels through the construction zone, hop back on, ride all the way back up to the car before any
And we didn't
security
get caught.
comes. Yeah, and we proceeded to one wheel until 1 a.m. We only made it like 79 miles. Our legs were shaking. We like pass out like by the lake on this dirt trail by our one wheel.
A very long dirt trail. Like we went down this dirt trail to basically the end.
Yeah,
And just
the end.
yeah.
And then we take off our shoes because our feet just hurt so bad.
They're always trying to get me to go on these one wheel challenges. And they're like, we're going to do a 100-mile challenge. You want to go? Absolutely not. I'll ride a one wheel for 20 miles. And I'm like, that was fun. That's all I need. My feet hurt. I'm going to go do something else now.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are psychos.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
take off our shoes. We're laying over the trail. We fall asleep. How long do you think we slept for?
30 minutes at least, dude.
and we wake up to the worst smell you want to hear when you are in the middle of nowhere.
Worst smell you want to hear? Yeah. You're hearing smells now?
No,
We were so tired.
Yeah, we were hearing the smells.
It was a skunk. Will just wakes up and he's like, and I wake up and I'm like, what's happening? And first, I feel my feet on fire. But Will is like rubbing his eyes and like tearing up because the smell is so intense. And I'm like, oh no. And then we see the skunk run off.
Trottle into the woods.
So we're like, we just got sprayed. And then we look at our feet. We slept with our feet dangling in an ant's nest.
Yeah. Literally an ant's nest.
How are you two still alive?
I don't know. So we had to throw our socks back on, slap all the ants, and get out of there. And then we went to my house and just passed out on the floor.
Yeah.
My wife woke up in the morning and she came out and she was like, what did you guys do last night? You stink. It's so bad.
Got skunked on one wheels.
It's so weird. Like all the crazy stuff we do and the most like weird adventure we have is just on like silly electric skateboard.
Doing normal things.
Yeah, normal things.
Well, no, it's not normal to try and
people
ride
do.
100 miles on a little electric board.
I just want to do it so bad. I want to do it before it snows.
Yep.
Stay
So
tuned.
bad.
Get going. It snowed on top of Schweitzer just the other day.
Stay tuned on our Instagram story because now that Will's ribs are healed,
We can do the 100-mile
we're
challenge.
going to do the 100-mile challenge. We'll post it on Instagram, but we're going to do it a day we don't work.
Yeah, on a
Yeah, trying
weekend.
to do it
thing.
while working is like...
We
came
did the
here-
calculations and we did realize that it's actually impossible
Yep.
to one wheel 100 miles on a day of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if
Unless
you're
you have,
actually
like,
impossible.
6 extra one wheels all charged and ready to go. 'Cause
Yeah.
you have to wait for them
Yeah.
to charge. And
Yeah, and you average like 15 miles an hour. They go like 20.
Yeah, but for
15 miles
safety,
an hour. So it's really easy math. If you're only doing 15 miles an
Yeah.
hour plus a couple charge breaks, take like half an hour to charge. Like
Yeah,
next
that's
time,
impossible.
we're just going to
Do it
hit
on
it on a
Saturday or
weekend,
whatever.
wake up Saturday morning.
early at the crack of dawn, start one wheeling until the nighttime, and we'll have 100
We're
miles.
going to try to circumnavigate the lake. We're gonna
Yeah.
start at my house, go across the Long Bridge, have a car parked there to charge, then go all the
that's
way
a
around.
really bad idea.
Why?
Because the backside of the lake is like 100 miles of dirt roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I drove from Coeur d'Alene on the other end of the lake to Clark Fork through
Yeah.
those roads in a Subaru back at the peak of my idiot driving. It took me 5 hours to drive a Subaru like fast through that.
Oh.
I mean, granted, you guys could go around toward Bayview and cut off some, but like, there's no cell service for any of that. And also, you have to go up like 4,000 feet of elevation gain. You're going to use a battery before you even, like, you would. How are you going to charge back there? You'd run through a battery before you even got halfway up Johnson Creek. Like, there's.
We need a better idea.
We do need
You need one with less
pavement.
elevation gain because you just wouldn't even make it up to the top
We need
of the
a
hill.
one with a lot of elevation.
And we need to stay off the dirt. The dirt
The
sucks
yeah.
our power
And all
down.
of that is dirt. From Johnson
Yeah.
Creek all the way around to Bayview, it's all dirt.
And not only does it take a lot more time, it wears you out a lot.
Yeah,
'cause you're
the
bumping and
bouncing and
battling.
stuff. When we got back onto the pavement, I was like, oh man, I could keep doing this almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the Rock Man took us on quite a tangent.
Yep.
But,
He did.
Ethan recently took some damage too. I guess this is the We All Took Damage Recently podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will and I were in the hospital within like 2 days of each other.
Pretty much.
Mine was a lot less extreme, but a
Very
lot more
odd.
unusual.
Yeah.
I'll spare the gross details, but my belly button got infected. Well, not my belly button, but the part inside your stomach that's connected to it. It's not supposed to be
A
there.
part that doesn't
pretty gnarly.
even exist in most humans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called a urachus, and it connects your bladder to your belly button when you're like a fetus, and it's supposed to go away. Mine didn't, and it got infected. So like I had like it started out really mild, and then it got to be really severe abdominal pain, and my belly button was leaking. So I went
It's
in.
not normal.
Not normal, no. And I went into the local hospital, and well, I went in twice. And the first time they were like, "Here's some antibiotics. If it gets worse, come back." And I started taking the antibiotics, and a couple days later, it got way worse. So I went back, and then I ended up seeing a different doctor, and he just looked at it and was like, "Oh yeah, you just have a skin infection. You had the wrong antibiotics. Here you go." And I was like, I don't know, man, this is not a skin problem. It's an internal sort of pain. It's not like, oh, I have a rash and it hurts.
Yeah.
So my wife was like, you need to go to a real hospital. Drive yourself to Spokane. So I drove myself down to Spokane at I got there at 10:30 at night. Sat in the ER waiting room for 7 hours overnight trying to sleep. And I hadn't planned on any of this. I figured I'd just go into town, go to the hospital, come home. And
this was days, a day before you had to take a flight.
Yeah, I was getting ready to fly to Texas 2 days later. So it took them 7 hours to get to me. There's just so many people at the ER there. And anyway, they finally admitted me and they looked at it and then they did a CT scan and they're like, oh yeah, we should probably do surgery. So I went from the doctor the day before being like, oh yeah, just go home. It's a skin infection to
emergency surgery.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're doing surgery today. Not like, oh, come back. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, they cut my belly open and removed the infected part and the rest of the urachus thing there. So not too extreme, but it was unpleasant nonetheless.
And then hopped on the plane.
Yeah, the next day. Nothing. Yeah, hopped on the plane the next day.
I was so surprised they let you go on the plane.
Oh, they didn't.
Same.
She said I could go. She's like, because they didn't just obviously internally they stitched it, but on the surface they just glued it. And the surgeon was like, yeah, you can go swimming whenever you feel comfortable. She didn't even say wait a couple days. She's just like, as soon as you're able to go swimming, go swimming. Like, you're fine.
Your belly was airtight.
Yeah.
Really?
Liquid tight.
Wow.
That's why it took us so long to make the jet boat video after we finished putting the water on it. Because it was like, all right, well, Ethan's belly needs to not have a hole on it before we go in the water.
Well, and it wasn't so much the water, it was the impact. Because because they had to cut my abdominal muscles open to get in there. So the muscles were just stitched together. We had to give it a few weeks. And they said, no heavy lifting, no more than 15 pounds for 3 weeks. I was like, well, I'll give you a week and I'll lift a little bit less than I normally would.
The second he comes back, I show up and he's lifting some heavy wood or steel to build the new garage. And I'm like, whoa, are you good? And he's like, oh, well, the doctor says I can't hold 15 pounds. So for me, that's 50 and this is probably only 70. And I was like, oh.
No, but it was really just about you don't want to stress those muscles. So if it hurts, don't do it sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we had to wait a little while because the impact and jarring motions of jet boating was kind of not great for it. But
in the order that it all kind of happened in was so progressive with the whole Grind Hard crew. So for the Gambler 500, we went in the limo, and I built that little electric bike in the back of the limo.
Yeah.
And so right when we got back, we were finishing the video of the whole build, and Will was filming me over by the enduro course, the log ride, and I fall off. The pegs on the bike kind of fold up because it's just a cheap
on the
Walmart
Ruckus?
bike.
Or,
no,
the green,
on the green Razor with the Electro & Co. kit. So the pegs fold up. I slip off the log and slam daddy my business into the log. It couldn't have been worse.
Also, you left out the part where at Gambler, Steven jumped into dove head first into a 2-foot deep drainage ditch.
After I did.
After Will did.
I dove in, smacked my whole body on the rock and was like, oh man, that water's pretty shallow. And then I look over and Steven's like, Calabunga.
And we were even making fun of you for diving in. Yep. We're like, Will, you're so dumb.
Steven was even part of that. He was like, wow,
Steven's
what are you doing?
Wow, look
and
at
then
you.
He's like, oop, dove in first, and he was like, I thought it was deep here. Came up with a just huge gash across his belly.
So Steven gashes his belly. I slam my nuggets. Ethan gets surgically removed, and then Will almost leaves the chat.
Yeah, it was an interesting.
So now we're in a season of healing
and peace.
And season of healing.
Nothing sketchy happened until Steven started the cycle again.
Fell off a raft.
Smashed his toe. Yeah, that was. You can hear all about it in our golf cart video, but yeah he got pretty shreked. And so now I don't know who's
hopefully
next.
No one's
that's all of us.
I think we're all good for a while.
Yeah. Hopefully our damage meters are down again instead of up.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking before I hit the truck, I was like, well, I haven't been damaged for a really long time. And then right away.
Thinking, man, I should really do some wheelies right here.
Yeah. I'm always thinking I should do some wheelies.
Yeah,
so.
I'm always thinking
Edwin thinks about wheelies more than you do, I think.
I dream about just looking at the horizon line and like my front tire popping up and down.
Yep.
Like all night, I just dream about that.
Yep.
It's just so nice.
It's something about it you just can't replace.
Did I tell you guys what I did to my electric dirt bike?
What did you do?
I finally fixed everything. I basically broke
The new one?
everything on
The
it.
Suron?
The Suron.
Oh, the Suron.
The 72 volt, the gold
one that caught on
Supermoto
fire?
wheels.
Yeah.
Well, I already
that's
fixed the
other
one that
Okay.
caught on fire.
That's the one he sold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this one is like my black one, my baby.
Yeah.
The only thing stock is the frame.
Okay.
So I just finished everything. I like, you know how like bleeding mountain bike brake sucks?
Yeah.
And you have to like, to do it right, you have to take it out, take the discs out, put in the block, like tap the thing, it takes like an hour.
Yeah.
I did it like the most amount of finesse I've ever put into bleeding a brake. It seems solid. I go up, do my first wheelie, pull the lever all the way to the bars. I almost went over, but luckily it has regen. So when I let off the throttle, it brought me back. And I was like, what the heck? I had this thing so dialed. I put the brake pads in from the little green bikes. And so the pistons were above the pads. So basically I went up, grabbed the brake, the pistons went, and the pads just went like this. And so I think I actually broke the actual caliper because I think the pistons went out too far.
Yeah.
No.
So now I'm
Retainer
like,
clip or whatever.
by the time I like figure out what caliper I need, get it, bleed it,
It's
like,
gonna be
probably
winter
gonna be
time.
Snowing.
Yeah.
So that means I didn't
You just
get
told
a
me
dirt
yesterday you
bike
were going to
all
fix
year.
your Suron.
Yeah, I know. And then I looked at it and I'm
Oh,
like, I
that's
think
when you
the
realized-
pistons
oh,
are
okay.
broken because I was like, oh yeah, I'll just push them back in and put the right pads in. But now they're kind of like,
You don't have a spare? Like,
Sideways.
didn't you upgrade that or something?
yeah, I
like
broke
the old-
all of those.
Wait,
all
did you
the
just
spares.
say you put the little green bike brakes on your Suron?
Yeah, what were you thinking
What on the
that?
devil?
I just thought that like, because I have.
Well, I don't know. That sounds like something you would do.
Oh, yeah, this is true.
They look exactly the same, but one hangs a little lower. So it
Maybe
didn't,
a
like,
little bit
say-
bigger. That's a little bit like bigger.
No, it's the same size. Because
Oh.
like all the actual pads on the cheaper pads
Are just the
size.
same? Oh.
And then like the actual Shimano ones are like twice as big.
Oh.
Yeah, just yeet. And then I was like, also got brake fluid all over the disc, of course. So that's going to be a whole cleaning situation.
Oh.
Will's favorite fluid.
I love brake clean.
Yeah, I've seen you taste brake clean so many times. Like why? Like even if you're not even working on it. Like I saw Ethan bleeding brakes.
Breeding the
He had like
breeding
a
brakes.
blue shop towel with some brake fluid in it, and I saw you just go. Why do you do that?
He's got to know what kind of fluid it is.
Well, I just like, like it's like a habit with Subarus. Every gas stop, pull the oil stick out, lick it.
How much oil do you think you've consumed?
Probably a lot, but
probably
like,
a lot of
shouldn't be
metal,
eating
too.
oil.
yeah, there's metal in it, and if there's metal in it, I know my Subaru's about to go. So I'm just like, okay.
So
I just like start
you wanna
buying
be
the stuff.
familiar so you can diagnose an engine.
Yeah, you can
But-
taste things in your coolant. You
So
can.
what do you learn
taste-
from brake fluid though?
I don't know. I don't know if it was brake fluid. That tastes really gross. It tastes of like a mix of olive oil. And have you ever had cod liver oil?
Cod liver oil.
It's like
Yeah.
a supplement.
Why would you eat
It's-
that?
It's a supplement
It's
thing. It's supposed to
really,
be good.
really bad, dude. Like cod liver oil is the worst stuff I ever tasted. So it's like brake clean is like a mixture of a couple of those things that you don't like. So I don't think I would taste that.
What even happened to this podcast? We were doing so good, and now we're talking about eating.
Well, you were
oil.
talking about oils and how I eat them, and so I was just explaining why I eat them. I have to explain why I eat oils to like everyone I buy Subarus from, because it will be like a grandma and she'll be like, yes, this is my favorite little Subaru, and I'll just come over and like lick the oil and I'll be like, this is no good.
You know what I just realized?
That's so you just admitted that you lie to old grandmas to get their Subarus cheaper. That's good.
Well,
Will. That's
obviously
great.
there's something in the oil. It's Subaru. So like if I have to tell them, like obviously sometime down the road the car's not going to be good. So I lick the fluid and I say, this isn't going to be good. And they're like,
Again,
I think that's a sign.
yeah. I
think
here,
that's,
plop it, little needler. So you know what I'm just
Yeah.
realizing, Ethan?
What?
Will actually can't tell us something that he hasn't told us before without defending himself. No matter what he tells us, he spends half an hour defending it.
Yes.
Well, because you guys just wouldn't understand, so I have to.
I strapped my girlfriend to the back of my motorcycle with a shoelace. And then we need to take an hour trying to convince him that that's a bad idea. Pretty much every new concept you hit us with, which most of it is things you've already done, is a highly controversial.
Yeah, weren't you just trying to buy a paraglider that had been patched?
Well, I only had a few patches on it.
Only a few patches.
You should pay full price.
Well, I was gonna get a beginner one and like learn how to kite it, and then jump off a couple things with it, and then
start with the hill here at the house.
Yeah, because if I'm gonna send it into a couple trees. I just know. So, it's gonna get damaged, and I'm gonna have to buy a new one.
Will.
Okay.
I've watched hundreds of hours of people crashing those things, and they always just kind of get up and they're just like.
That's because on YouTube you're not allowed to post the ones where they die.
Oh,
yeah. If you look up the same thing on Live Leak or something, then you will see what really happens. Also, proof of what we just said. Every time you tell us something, we need to talk you out of it. So I'm gonna call it there. We're gonna be back next week. Sent and Bent is available wherever there's podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, all that stuff, and they come out earlier on those platforms. So check it out.
and there's gonna be more of them now, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're doing this more
every week for the rest of Will's life.
That's not a good way to say that. And I don't believe you. But we'll try to do it every week.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds
every week that we film one, there will be one.
Every week forever.
Premium.
Will's gonna live until the point where technology can keep you alive forever.
That's my plan.
All right.
No, it's not.
Deal.
Shake on it.
Wow.